No matter how tough things are right now, your situation will get better. You just have to be patient a little because life is beautiful. This is how I see life. People still care about each other. We have this, and the government and some people are risking their lives to protect us. Even the neighbors care about us. That's how I viewed life, at least when I was a kid. You probably clicked on this video looking for strength to learn how to get power, mostly because you know life is a place where only the strong survive and live well. Honestly, I don't know much about what happens to the weak cause no one really cared before, they just look down on the weak. But if someone's still alive like that, I'm gonna teach you a rule I've actually used successfully. You're gonna reach the power and control you want, and you'll be able to influence people even if you don't actually want power or control at all. Basically, you'll become someone who can outsmart and manipulate others. But your view of the world will change. You'll realize nothing in life is free. These rules are solid. They're not free because you'll pay a price for them. The video breakdown will be like this. There will be clips, each one covering different laws, totaling 48 laws. This will be your complete guide to power. Most people think that if they show off their skills and talents in front of their bosses, they'll be liked and seen as special. But what really happens is, sometimes they get scared you'll take their spot, and that makes your protector hate you and try to get rid of you. But if you show him that he's the cornerstone, that the place just isn't complete without him, then he'll love you and never let you go. This rule has proven true throughout history. Believe me, times change, but the rule stays the same. Okay, the guy loved parties and women and spent money lavishly, but he was great at his job. That's why the king never wanted to be without him. Also, when the Prime Minister Joel died, it was the full year 1661, he was supposed to take the position of Prime Minister, but the king, for some unknown reason, decided to cancel the position because he started losing favor with the king. So they decided to put him under house arrest. Fouquet decided to throw a huge party. On the surface, it was to celebrate finishing the palace he was building on the estate, but the real reason was to honor and show respect to the king, who was invited as the guest of honor. The party included some of the most famous nobles and thinkers, starting with a 7-course Eastern dinner, dishes the French were already familiar with. As the evening went on, special music was played, composed just to honor the king. After dinner, Fouquet took the king on a tour through the gardens, where flowers were arranged in beautiful geometric patterns. Then there was a fireworks show. Honestly, it was an unforgettable party and it ended pretty late. Everyone saw that night it was the best brawl ever, and we can all agree that Fouquet did everything. But what happened the next day was the real deal. Fouquet got arrested. Months later, he was tried and sentenced for stealing from the state's coffers, even though most of the thefts were ordered by the king himself and actually served the king's interests. After that, Fouquet was sent to one of France's most isolated prisons to spend the last 20 years of his life in solitary confinement. Long story short, King Louis was arrogant and cocky. He always wanted to be the center of attention and wouldn't allow anyone to steal the spotlight from him, especially not Fouquet. He works like this. When I was above, I was cooling down the king on the night of the party with scenes and events, each one better than the last, almost like I wasn't showing loyalty or respect. Actually, it was the opposite. It was fueling the fire burning inside the king. With every scene, I could see it clearly. At the start of the month, he was on top of the world, alone. By the end, he was lying on the floor. What you need to know is that no one in the world has complete confidence in themselves. We're all human and we all have flaws. Because of these flaws, we feel insecure and weak. That's why when you show off your skills to people, it naturally stirs up feelings of jealousy and envy in others. You don't need to care if people hate you, but it's different when it comes to dealing with your bosses, like the story showed us. People naturally tend to trust faces they know, especially if they're friends. But if you think about it, stories of betrayal and backstabbing mostly come from friends and close people. And when it's about power and authority, they're the first ones to betray you out of jealousy. But if you hire someone who was your enemy once, they won't expect anything from you and will try their best to prove themselves. For many reasons, if you don't have an enemy, you need to make one yourself. Back in the 9th century, they used to raise kids like that. His name was Michael III, known as the Byzantine Emperor. Michael was a successor of music until he appointed someone to help him. The first person that came to Michael's mind was Basil, his friend and advisor. Basil didn't have any experience in ruling or politics back then. He was just in charge of the royal stables. But Basil had already proven his loyalty and worth to Michael through many past incidents. Michael had met Basil years before when visiting a charitable gathering. At that time, a horse tried to escape and attacked Michael, and Basil jumped in to save him. Back then, Basil was just a stable groom, but his strength and courage impressed Michael so much that he promoted him immediately. As the head of the royal stables, he got to study at the finest Byzantine schools, and pretty quickly, the country boy turned into a cultured man. So when Michael came to the throne, he only trusted his old buddy. But the one real problem was his constant thirst for money. Living the lavish life in Byzantine palaces had made him greedy. Michael's power was shaky, and he lost his friend's support more than once or twice in every possible way, but none of it was enough for God. Now, let's get back to Michael's spices. The Byzantine armies, as we said, were cunning, and he was the perfect choice for the advisor position from Bassi to Ios because they were clear enemies from the start. So, he was gonna try to take advantage of Michael and at the same time prove his worth to him, but what actually happened was that during one of the horse races, Michael was assassinated, stabbed multiple times by an unknown person in the crowd. Of course, that unknown person was Basilius. This happened after Basilius started spying on Michael because his uncle was gonna betray him, so they decided to get rid of him. Then Basilius took over as head of the armies and his power kept growing bigger and bigger every day. Michael started to realize what was going on and even tried to ask for some of the money Basilius used to give him, but Basilius refused with a look full of contempt. We know Michael messed up big time, and it could cost him a lot later on. Michael's got 7 nights, Michael on music. The writer Voltaire said, "God protect me from my friends, I can handle my enemies." Bottom line, we all know what happens if you put your hand in a lion's mouth, but with friends, you're not as careful. That's why they can be even more dangerous than the lion that might bite your hand. You've got to learn how to make your enemies work for you, just like you use a sword to protect yourself by holding it by the handle, not the blade. Even so, you can still use your friends to do your dirty work because their feelings for you make them willing to take risks, and at the same time, the plan failed or you were about to get caught, people really think he was a bad person. And you're gonna get out of the mess and keep your reputation. Your actions reveal your true intentions to those around you, so stop them from plotting against you or preparing for you. Encourage them to misunderstand his moves. The rule is you have to mislead people about your real goals by pretending you want something else. And this time, I'm not going to tell you an old story about the rule, I'm going to tell you something real from my own life right now. Today, with what we know, most people don't even realize there's a big conspiracy happening, and even those who feel something's off don't understand what or where it's going on. He knows exactly what it is, so I'm going to try to clear things up a bit for you. The conspiracy that's going on has 3 stages, and this is what I was trying to stress at the beginning of the video. The first stage is creating a new system of slavery. Slavery used to mean working just for food, drink, and shelter. Now, you're basically wasting more than 15 years of your life. For the poor, it's gonna get even worse because the prices of assets like stocks, companies, real estate, and land are gonna drop hard. That's when the rich will buy all of that at a huge discount. At the same time, inflation will spike for food prices and essentials, and the explanation is, the problem is ideas because your salary is never going to be enough. You're in a country where the price of a liter of gasoline today compared to 2 years ago shows the inflation I'm talking about. That's the first stage of the whole conspiracy. The second stage is silencing the truth. Let me ask you, what's easier, dealing with an animal or dealing with a rational, aware person? Of course, you can't replace a rational, aware human being. And I know people who get this very well. If all men were educated, if they all worked on themselves, if they all stayed away from nonsense, they'd build strong, advanced nations and civilizations. But if all men are just focused on girls, how are they supposed to get a girl's number if she's not even worth showing up for? Especially when they're turning her into something weird. If a girl has freedom, it's like she owns her own body. If a girl wants to be equal to a man, what do you think society's gonna look like? A society like that is super easy to control. That's why anyone who tries to change society for the better ends up being fought against. For example, England got banned from everywhere: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, even YouTube. Have you ever thought about how strange that is? Like YouTube, for instance, there are rival companies. One's a Chinese company while YouTube and Facebook are American companies, and we all know that. So America and China hate each other, right? Then how come they both issued a ban on The Undertaker from all social media at the exact same time? And more importantly, who actually issued it? Who has the power in both China and America at the same time? Who's the one behind this? Even most of my TikTok videos get banned for no reason. Sometimes they say it's because I support terrorist groups, even though the video is just about organizing your life. And a lot of Instagram stories get taken down without any reason too, just because I talk about topics they don't like. Meanwhile, you see LGBTQ content and porn being promoted all over social media. These days, you find websites everywhere, all loud and claiming they're the real deal. And remember, if something's free, you're the product. What you need to understand is that anyone who tells the truth gets silenced. That was the end of Phase 2. Music, now we're in Phase 3, the total control phase, which is still going on and is all about complete control over people. It started with the outbreak of the coronavirus. When governments began stopping people from leaving their homes, forcing them to stay inside, then the vaccine came out with strict rules, either take it or you couldn't use public transport or enter malls, shopping places, restaurants. And gyms might seem normal since they're set up to keep people safe, and that's fine. But honestly, if they really cared about your safety, unemployment would be lower, inflation wouldn't be so bad, and infrastructure would be way better. The government would be fair and just. If they truly cared, officials wouldn't be just a bunch of crooks. Even you feel it, you get this kind of fear when you hear police or government. That feeling inside you doesn't come out of nowhere. Let me tell you, governments are just fronts and games controlled by hidden people you've never even heard of. I've never seen them before, and maybe you'll never see them either. These people aren't planning anything big in Phase 3. What I'm telling you is that there'll be a credit system for people, meaning everyone will have behavior points. If you're a good person, you'll have high, positive points, and that will give you more privileges. But if you're a bad person, it can block you from a lot of things like traveling, transportation, subscriptions, work, and more. And if you think I'm crazy for saying this, I want to tell you this is actually happening right now in China. The credit system was launched there a few years ago, and literally everything can affect your points. How much time do you spend on your phone each day? When do you go to sleep and wake up? What do you buy? What do you search for online? When do you pay your bills? Or even, what do you talk about on social media? Everything you do can either lower or raise your score. Back in 2020, China had 620 million surveillance cameras on the streets, all equipped with facial recognition technology to literally monitor everything and everyone. And the bad guys? When people travel, big ads pop up on the streets showing pictures of those with low scores, labeling them as failures to make others laugh at them and mock them. This way, they control how people think, turning everyone into just a number. A person with low points is seen as a bad failure, and anyone with high points is considered a good person. Like, we have to listen to the government and be good people. If you still don't get how serious this is, let me explain it this way. Those in control of the world have the power to literally make anyone disappear. Anyone they don't like, anyone who opposes them or tries to do something will have all their rights taken away, and worst of all, they just vanish. For example, the Chinese billionaire Jack Ma disappeared for more than 2 months just because he gave a speech about economic reforms. If he had done something worse, we all know he could have disappeared even longer. Usually, and pretty much forever, the real rulers of the world aren't the presidents. Those countries are just puppets in the hands of hidden players. By saying this, I'm putting myself at great risk, but it's true because they don't want me to say it. You're hearing me now, and I'm going to share as much info as I can to help you improve your life, your health, your personality, and your financial situation. Just remember, growth takes time, so you need to be patient and work on yourself. Rule number 4, always say less than necessary. Reputation is everything when it comes to people. We can judge someone just based on what we've heard about them before, and we all know a person's reputation is key. Whether it's good or bad, you gotta keep the fuse short. Fire spreads fast, especially in the ears of your enemies. Then it's just about letting others finish off the barbecue for you. Now, let's get back to the kingdom wars in China. There was this army commander from a faraway kingdom, just him and one soldier inside the city walls. Suddenly, his scouts brought news. No joke, 150,000 enemy troops led by some cinematic-level general were heading straight for the city. As you can guess, the situation was super bad. 100 soldiers couldn't possibly hold the city against 350,000 attackers. What was going to happen? Obviously, the enemy would storm the city walls and capture the commander. But then what Real Madrid did was, he was sitting on the highest spot above the city walls, lighting some incense next to him and started playing the oud. After a few minutes, the enemy army showed up. It seemed endless. But he didn't care about them and kept playing on the walls. The army stopped in front of the city gate with a commander at their head. I quickly recognized the guy sitting on the walls. They knew he was Commander Liang, aka the Sleeping Dragon. The city looked completely undefended and dry because they knew Liang was a great leader and there was definitely a deadly force waiting inside the city. That's why Sima ordered his troops to retreat immediately. At that moment, one man managed to defeat 150,000. A man in a fight needs to understand that your reputation is the foundation for you. Even if you're smart, if people think you're dumb, then everyone will see you as dumb, and the opposite is true too. That's why you have to make your name stand for strength, honesty, and intelligence. Everyone loves fame, and we've all heard of people who shared their food or lives with others, but we've never heard of someone sharing their fame with someone else. Everything is judged by appearance, and nobody cares about something they can't see. Don't be a nobody in a crowd, stand out from the rest. Draw attention using your space, energy, or mystery. The important thing is not to get lost in the crowd. The pioneer of American vaudeville in the 20th century started his career as an assistant to a circus owner back in 1836. The circus stopped in the city of Naples for the opening. This guy was rolling in cash, walking around town in a brand new black suit. People started following him because he looked so strange. Then someone recognized that the man in the black suit was actually Father Ephraim, who was famous at the time for being accused of murder. The court had acquitted him, but most Americans back then still believed he was the killer. People started attacking each other and were about to kill him too, but the rest managed to chase after the circus. That's when his identity was confirmed. The truth is, when people found out, they realized the whole thing was just an act and you're actually the circus owner yourself. The guy named Aaron was the one who spread the rumor and people believed it. The guy who was supposed to get killed wasn't happy with what his boss did to him and wanted to know why. Then word Karn responded. The whole thing actually worked in our favor because all we needed to succeed was to grab people's attention. And sure enough, the whole city was talking about the incident and the circus was packed every night they stayed in Naples. Napolis learned a lesson he'd never forget. What you need to understand is that a warning equals power, especially nowadays with everything going on. Social media has made catching attention way easier than before, and you've got to learn how to grab people's attention and stand out from the crowd. The skill isn't something we're born with, everyone needs to learn it from experience. Also, if you're about to go head-to-head with someone or a group who's already been using attention grabbing to their advantage, there's no way you'll win by doing the same thing. Maybe that's why I'm here writing this. These rules might seem old-fashioned at first glance, but the truth is, they work anytime and anywhere you're a leader, and no matter the moment. There's a hidden side that's been used for thousands of years to control us and manipulate our lives. The reality we know and the faces we think of as angelic are really just masks for the faces of demons. A lot of the history we learned in school clearly isn't the whole truth. So many things have happened that are endlessly questioned. I want to point out something. Very few of us live to be 100 years old, but the devil has been around since the beginning of the world. What we're dealing with is the devil playing a game, and he's clever, a symbol of cunning and deceit. So if you think everything he does it's just all in your head. So realize you're wrong a lot, and remember, to live the dream, you gotta be asleep. If you want me to keep going with the book, please drop a like so I know, and subscribe to the channel to catch the video when it's out. This was Midnight Brain. Peace.